Well, good morning, and just give you a quick rundown. We had a early morning practice today, started at 7:30. I think that was a good decision. Whoever ordered the weather this morning, please keep doing that. That was a great start. Had a good cloud base that made it almost tropical out on the grass today. So really excited to have a group out. No question, we've been pointing to this day for a long time. It's really nice to have a lot of veteran guys because the leadership really showed up today, especially offensively and defensively. Those veteran players really set the tempo, and I thought practice overall went pretty well.
Questions?
All right, thanks for coming.
Bill, we talked so much about the early schedule and the concern about getting beat up physically through that. Talk about the early challenge.
Well, exactly that. We considered a great opportunity. I think that, as you look at the schedule, there's no doubt about the fact that 3 of the first 4 games in September will be against most likely top 10 opponents, high quality. No doubt we started at Oklahoma on September 3rd. I think that sometimes what gets lost in the shuffle in September is that we start on the road in conference play down in New Orleans. That's going to be a huge game for us. And then to come back and have Oklahoma State opening up at home, and then a trip to Boise. I mean, everybody knows the schedule. But for us, we have to see that as a great opportunity. We come into the season with some momentum, but obviously we have a new coaching staff, and we've tried to come out of spring with some momentum. And I feel real good about the opportunities that present themselves. People ask about getting beat up, and certainly that's always a concern. One of the things I think that plays into, at least maybe it's my positive spin to it, but I really believe that teams are not as physical as we once were. A lot more spread offenses. It's not quite as brutal a deal as just getting in the I formation and coming downhill every snap. Now, certainly the teams that are on our schedule are going to do that some. But I do hope that we've adapted to the spread a little more. That's our view is we're going to have a pretty physical fall camp. And so I think that we'll be ready for that.
Coach, the opportunity to play in-state schools like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, what kind of opportunities does that present for you recruiting-wise to go in and win those games?
Well, it's always big. I mean, we're always looking to get an opportunity to play against the best talent. And what's exciting for us is to see where Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are ranked. I mean, they're coming into this year with tremendous momentum themselves. And so to get those guys on our schedule at the same time this year is, again, great opportunity for us. We've got certainly to focus in on conference play. But to have those opportunities in September, I promise you our guys are looking forward to it.
Coach, you got people excited about your evaluation of maybe having the best quarterback in the state. Talk about the T.J. Kenny and the quarterbacks we have in the state this year.
Well, apparently bragging on your guy gets you in trouble sometimes, so I'll try to do it in context. Again, when I was asked that question, it was really in reference to Conference USA quarterbacks. Obviously, sometimes that doesn't always make the news, what the question was asked. We're going to face tremendous quarterbacks at Oklahoma State and at Oklahoma. Tremendous quarterbacks. The thing is, I'm excited that we have the Conference USA Player of the Year in G.J. Kenny. That's a known commodity. He is a 3-year starter coming back. I'm excited to have him. I think he is going to speak. His play will speak for itself. But I'm always going to love my guys.
Were you surprised at the reaction you got?
Yeah, I really was because, again, that's what happens. I mean, sometimes you take a little snippet of what was said, but again, in context, there was no comparisons being made other than I got a really good quarterback.
Coach, the preseason coaches poll came out this morning. Tulsa didn't receive a vote. Is that something that you'll use as motivation, or do you not pay attention to the preseason stuff?
Well, the fact that you had to tell me about it should probably lead you to know how much we look at those polls. I would expect with the coaching change that people will hopefully diminish a little bit of their expectations for us in the conference. It doesn't change our expectations for ourselves.
If I've done the math right, G.J. has an opportunity not to get the overall passing mark, because I think Paul Smith is a little bit too far. But he has an opportunity, if he has another good year like he's had his last two, to be on average most productive quarterback? What makes him so special?
Well, longevity for one. I mean, you've got to play a lot of games, but GJ's been very durable. Hasn't missed games. He's physical, and he is a playmaker. He's a true dual threat guy. He can work you with his feet, and he can work you with his arm. And those guys are rare, and so that's what I love about him. I honestly don't know where the numbers fit. I'll probably look at that at some point in time, but I do know that he's been incredibly productive over the last 2 years, and if we can maintain that, we're going to have a great season.
GJ, when you look at him, he's almost really the biggest source of stability at that position. You had some change in the depth chart with the departure of Shavadrik. James Killian's at LSU. You have a new offensive coordinator, new coaching change, yet GJ stays the same. Just talk about his maturity level and how do you think he'll adapt to all this change around him, yet he's still at quarterback.
Well, it hasn't affected him in the past, and that's what's been pretty interesting, and GJ would be the first to tell you that, he actually came here under one coordinator. He got another coordinator in 2009, then Chad Morris in 2010, and then now a new head coach and coordinators, and I think he's adapted pretty well. Again, he does what he does, and that helps him because he's very mature, very methodical in his approach. He and I have talked about that because I don't know that when you're in college you look at it as a plus, but I too had 5 different coordinators, 5 different quarterback coaches, not coordinators, but 5 different quarterback coaches over my 5 seasons. Later on, I believe that became a real positive for me. At the time, you have to endure, you have to change, and you don't really realize maybe the benefits of that. But I think every coach brings some really good things to the table, and maybe some, you learn from some other things. So I think GJ's the constant, definitely the mature individual there that's been able to just keep getting better and better.
What about your confidence level on someone like a Kalen Henderson who redshirted last year and now he's thrust into that backup role? Just talk a little bit about Kalen and your expectations.
Kalen physically is very ready. He's emotionally ready. Mentally, he is still a one-year quarterback. There is just no shortcut to experience. That's the thing I love about GJ's situation is that he is a third-year starter, a fifth-year player. When we had David Johnson, Paul Smith as fourth and fifth-year players, those guys are just different than when you're in your first or second year. Kalen will be a really good quarterback. He is physically very mature, but there is just no shortcut to taking snaps and especially taking them in action. The fact that we redshirted him last year is really good for his overall development, but he got no snaps under center. So he'll be coming in this completely new to really playing college football. So that is a concern, but it's something that we know going into it. We've got to go through fall camp and really establish who our second quarterback is and make sure we're getting him prepared.
Tramaris Johnson already has the NCAA record for all-purpose yards with a year left. How hard is it to excel at, kick return, receiving, even rushing the ball? And what's it say about him that he's able to do that?
Well, how hard is it? I think there's a reason that he is the all-time NCAA record leader, because that is clearly hasn't been done till he's come back to do it at that level. And to be able to achieve that in 3 seasons, I believe is remarkable. He has a God-given ability to be able to make people miss. I jokingly say, I honestly think he can make, you couldn't catch him in a phone booth. I mean, he's a guy that can get away. He's just incredible, and he really takes advantage of his size. The fact that he's not a tall guy at all, I believe actually helps him, especially in his special teams and getting loose and having a low center of gravity to make people miss. But those guys don't come along very often. I would love to tell you that he was terrible when he got here and we coached him up, but that's just not true. He came here, he brought it, and he's going to leave here a very gifted athlete.
Do you think the fact that he plays at a Conference USA school instead of like a SEC or a Big 12 school maybe hurts his chances nationally of getting the recognition?
For recognition, that's probably the case, but what I like to point back to is the fact that if you watch NBC and Notre Dame, I think he achieved pretty well there. I think when he's been on ESPN with the Hawaii Bowl, and he achieved pretty well there. You just start working it back. It's a matter of, are people going to have an open mind about it? Because he's getting the exposure. Now, a lot of times I think people are locked in because they want to equate maybe the BCS conferences and the non-BCS, and we can't do anything about that. So we know he's going to be on TV 11 times. We know that 9 of those are on national TV, so exposure is going to be there, and now it's just up to him and the rest of our team and our coaching staff to, step up.
As the practices get started, what's the
I'm sorry,
question mark?
where are we?
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
As the practices get started, what's the biggest question mark for you?
Biggest question marks, honestly, is how quickly can we develop the depth in the defensive line and at quarterback. I think those are the 2 areas of concern depth-wise immediately. We know we're pretty good at the starting unit, both at the defensive line and at quarterback, but we've got to develop that second unit very quickly. Dave?
Talk about running backs, Bill. Sweet.
Our running back core?
Yeah, and with Trey be the starter.
So today, Trey Watts is our starter. Had a tremendous spring. He's shown great leadership. The guy that'll get lost in the shuffle a little bit if you're not careful is Willie Carter. Willie is technically our H-back, but Willie is an outstanding tailback as well. So you'll see Willie doing a lot that we did with Charles Clay over the last couple of years of being a slot receiver, a fullback, a tight end, but he will also set back and actually be a straight-up running back, and he is an outstanding ball carrier. Trey's the best all-purpose guy that we have, both in the passing game and in the run game, but then we go situationally. I love Jatarian Douglas. I love his home run speed that he brings. He will be a year older. Last year as a true freshman, we protected him a little bit and kept him in situations that we felt like he could manage. I believe he'll be able to take on a little more this year, and then Alex Singleton should have even a bigger role. Alex has been a short yardage back and really a power back for us. Love to use him late in the game when we're trying to run the clock down and wear people out. But Alex has had a great summer. Alex is in better shape than I've seen him in a while. So I'm really excited that we'll see how he develops on an every down as an every down back.
Coach, can you kind of assess the same thing with wide receivers who might step up and take some of the pressure off them?
Wide receiver, Damaris, really, clearly everybody pretty much knows he's been our go-to guy. We love the fact that we have Thomas Robertson back as a starter from a season ago. He'll be in his second full season. Ricky Johnson returned as a starter, did not perform as well in spring, kind of took a step back, has had a great summer. Has really gotten himself in condition, seems to be very healthy and very fit, and that was an area of concern coming out of spring. So Ricky could bring some real commitment or some real success to us because of his experience. But I love the way Jordan James showed up in spring, and today was a good day for him as well. Jordan's a young man that hadn't played much, but he's a big physical receiver, and I think can be that over-the-middle physical guy that we need to have. Got a lot of good young receivers, and I don't mean just newcomers. I'm talking about young receivers that are in our program and newcomers. This will really be a key time because we really need to find about 6. If you find 6, then we're going to be successful doing all the stuff we want to do. And they're on campus. It's a matter of which ones are going to be the 6.
Talk about Karis Garrett.
Karis Garrett is one of those newcomers. We've got actually, I think, 4 pretty much new freshmen that are here. Kieris is one of the tall ones. Kieris comes from Dangerfield, where he won 3 state championships there. He's a tall 6'3"-ish wideout that has great hands and can move. We think he's definitely going to get a look in that rotation. We like Zach Epps, another 6'4" receiver that came out of Kansas City area. Those 2 give us some length. Some matchups. Gary Owens is a young guy that's really a speedster that I think down the road, I don't want to put him in Damaris's category, but at least he's one of those kind of guys, a slot receiver that can really fly. So we've also got guys on campus that I really like. I mean, Brett Davis had a good summer. Brian Burnham had a good summer. These guys really showed up today in the first day of practice and kind of acted like they're going to compete for a job.
Bill, where do you feel like you're the strongest defense?
I love our linebacker core. I think our first group of linebackers is maybe as strong as I remember. Of Cornelius Arnix anchors that middle and really brings experience to the table. You've got Sean Jackson being one of the outside backers. The fact that he played so well last year just gives him a lot of confidence. We got DeAndre Brown back after having to miss a year last season, and DeAndre is kind of sitting in that third spot as those three starting linebackers. If you remember, he was freshman all-conference, I think, coming out of his freshman season. So three really good experienced guys that can really run, really hit. We love Alan Dock as a fourth-year senior that Coach Guy believes is really our fourth best linebacker, is kind of interchangeable, so he can play everywhere. And then you've got really quality players. DeWitt Jennings, that got a lot of playing time as a freshman, right out of Bixby, is going to be really push hard for playing time. We've got him stacked with DeAndre at that position. Then you've got Cody Wilson and Mitchell Osborne and Donnell Hawkins that are all, Coach Guy's got a good group. So I think they're going to push each other to really get on the field and make a difference. It's a good group.
Coach, would you say this is the most depth that you've
had okay,
in the
yes.
offensive line position, and with the most versatile amount of guys that you have to mix and match?
Again, all I have to give you perspective on is the 4 years I've been here. And in the 4 years that I've been here, this is the deepest O-line group that we've had starting fall camp. I believe there's 16 guys there on scholarship, and really feel like that we have a better physical presence. Now, they've all got to fit in and find it, and Coach Johnson and I were talking just before I came over. It's not important for us to find the best tackle, guard, and center. What we're looking for are the best 5 linemen and how they're going to work together. If we find 3 tackles and, then somebody's going to play a guard. We're going to take the best 5 guys we have and be able to build it. That's a great problem that we haven't had in the past, is to have that kind of depth. But we really believe we've got going into this fall camp, 10 or 12 guys that can compete for playing time.
Coach, big picture, your first practice, fall practice as head coach, what was the feeling like for you?
Relief. Man, getting to this point. There's been a lot going into getting to this point. We've been doing a lot of things besides football, and I was so ready for some ball. It was just crazy. Glad to be back, get on the field, and things just all kind of come back into focus when you get out there and start coaching, and those guys are excited.
You've been in charge since spring ball, going through all that through the summer. Does it still feel new to you? Are you still going through experiences for the first time?
I think, and again, my experiences have been that until you do a job for a full year, it's not ever going to be, we're doing this again. Because every time that you go to another phase, this is our first fall camp. This is our first day of fall camp. I got to go a full year before we do that. Now, it's not brand new because we had spring and we've been able to implement our program. But there's no doubt, a staff, it takes a full cycle, I believe, before you really get to that comfort level of knowing what's coming around the corner.
Did you notice any impact the Notre Dame win had in recruiting?
No doubt. The impact on the Notre Dame win was really very noticeable in 2 ways, Dave. Not only did we get a couple of guys signed that didn't know a whole lot about us until they saw that game. If you had seen the response to our summer camps, our junior and senior camps that we had, many of the guys from all over the country, I would go to them, I'm like, we got a guy here from Michigan. Why did you come to our camp? He goes, well, I watched your game against Notre Dame. And I talked to a guy from Montana and we had guys coming this summer way out of our normal recruiting areas, and a lot of it was because of the exposure we got with the Notre Dame win and then later on with the Hawaii win.
Did the coaches mention it in the home visits?
Oh, yeah, no, that's something we talk about a lot. That gives us a lot of credibility. We needed that BCS win, and then to be able to do it again against an opponent, and it helped. Frankly, it helped us. As you guys know, there was some talk, how big a win was it? Because they're not very good. Well, fortunately, they went on a roll and actually began to win and had a great season, winding up in a bowl game, and I think that helped give us a little credibility as well. More so outside of our office, it didn't matter much in our office. It was pretty good.
Speaking of Notre Dame, how big is it to have Matt Romine on this team?
I think it's a big deal, and partly for me, it's a personal issue because I coached Matt up until his junior year, through his junior season. So I know what he's capable of doing. The fact that he was available to get one more season and would want to do that here in Tulsa really excites me. Matt brings another big body to the table. As a fifth-year player, again, you can't take offensive linemen and as good a talent as they have, as a first or second-year guy, they're not going to be a grown man. When you start getting in those fourth and fifth-year guys, they're grown men. Matt's a grown man. Now, he's got to play, and he's going to have to bring it every day and earn a spot, but I sure like looking at him when he goes out on the field.
His experience, I would expect, with all the teams that he's played when he was up there, is invaluable.
Coach Cutchlow, our strength coach, tells me that it only took about a week or 2 weeks, and all of a sudden Matt was right in there with all the other seniors on the squad. And so I really like that he's really been embraced with the other linemen on the team, and especially the leadership, Tyler Holmes, Clint Anderson, the guys that have that. And so I think he's going to fit very well. It remains to be seen where he'll play. Again, we're looking for the best five. Maybe he'll be one of those guys.
Coach, how often you guys talk about Conference USA Championship?
How often do we? Constantly. What we'll say, in fact, and again, please don't lose the context of this, but the most important game in September for us in our program is our trip to Tulane, because that's a conference game. Everything else is non-conference. Those will be really important the week we play them, and they're really important for what all they mean, but make no mistake about it, the biggest goal we have is to get to the Liberty Bowl. We get to the Liberty Bowl by being conference champions. So it all starts with all of that. That's a big deal. We talk about it a lot.
We talked about what that Notre Dame win did. This year you're going to have 3 chances at the top 10 team or a preseason top 10 team. Would beating one of them be even another step up the program?
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be the guy that says what the most important or best win there is in history, but it would be pretty good. I would almost go on the record as saying.
It would have the same kind of impact on recruiting.
Yeah, no question. And I don't want to belittle it, but no question. I mean, it would be a big deal for us. But again, the more important thing is it's going to give us a measuring stick September 3rd of where we need to get to. On September 17th, it'll be a measuring stick. We weren't very good when we played Oklahoma State a year ago. They were really good. They put it on us really well. Hopefully, we'll be better prepared. Hopefully, that we'll have a better show. I'm confident of that. But by the same token, that's a measuring stick game for us. Same thing when we go to Boise. And then the conference play is where we have to be able to be prepared, and we will be, to go out there and compete and win a conference championship.
2 more questions?
Coach, you mentioned how big that Tulane game is. Is one of the biggest challenges for you and your staff where that game falls in the schedule in between the big non-conference games, just kind of keeping focus there and not looking elsewhere?
And no question, that's the only reason I even bring it up, because literally on media day and all summer, the only thing our guys are hearing is, what about those 3 games in September? Well, there's actually 4 games in September. But we always want to talk about 3, and the one of them is really important to us. Now, 2 weeks leading up to the Sooners, that's the only thing we're focused on. And then the week for Tulane, we got to be focused on that. And so we won't be jumping Oklahoma to get to Tulane, but by the same token, in context of September, we've got to always talk about that.
Coach,
Yes, ma'am.
a lot of local faces on your roster. Can you talk about how important is that to you as a coach and your program?
Well, that's been an emphasis in our program for quite a while. Coach Craig Thorpe, Coach Graham, all of us said we start in Oklahoma and work our way out in recruiting. The bulk of our squad should represent a circle around Tulsa that gets down into Dallas-Fort Worth and up into Kansas City and St. Louis. And that should be where about 80% of our kids come from. We want to win Oklahoma. We want to win with Oklahomans. And it excites me as the local recruiter over the last 4 years that we have won a bunch of really good recruits here. And now those guys are getting to play, and I think it's going to be fun for this community to get to come out and watch kids from all over this area.
1 more? How about the weather, Coach? You're going to make any adjustments? I mean, I know you've done this before, but it's hot.
It is hot. Whoever was praying for the weather today, keep praying for victories, because that person got hurt. I don't know. We had a great deal. We are going on the grass and we would have done that anyway. The grass helps us in the temperature. Our regular routine all through fall camp is 7:30 a.m. practice. And again, I believe that's the smart thing to do with the heat. We would probably do it anyway, but especially with the challenges we have with the weather right now.
Bill, could you talk about your secondary a little bit?
Secondary, the back end, I really am excited. We've got Marco Nelson back at safety, Dexter McCoyle. Those two are the veteran safeties that we have. They're being pushed by James Robertson, Luke Snyder, Trent Wilkins. So Trent has played, so there's really three guys that have the veteran play there, Trent, Marco, and Dexter. The corners, John Flanders, is coming into his last season, has had an outstanding career for us. Lowell Rose at the other corner really came out of spring, looked like a dominant player first day today. I think he's going to be really good. And then you sprinkle in some backups there. We got Milton Howe, Justin Skillins, J.D. Ratliff. I feel pretty good about the depth in the secondary. Again, it goes back to let's find the best four, and then let's find the fifth guy when we go nickel and all those kind of things. I think they're there, and I feel good about them. We just got to spend time in fall camp really getting that done.